Welcome to Tournament Radio. We are back with little Dave, and it's according to my Apple phone or iPhone, it says that it feels like 5 degrees here.
It's cold as shit, that's for sure.
Yes, yeah, yeah. I am bundled up like a damn Eskimo to start training every
Yeah,
day this week.
yeah.
And if I go to West Main, which doesn't have heat, I can go in there and it'll say on the thermostat it'll be like 58 degrees, and I'm like, Jesus Christ.
No, that's you feel that one.
Yeah. You go to pick up the dumbbells or barbell, and it's like, man, my hands are cold.
Yeah,
I love it in the summer when there's no AC, but in the winter, it's brutal. So,
yeah.
uh, yeah. How's your training went this week?
It's been amazing, actually. Today's a rest day. I'm looking forward to. Um, and actually, funny, we were trying to figure out what we were going to train. Like, we got done training arms yesterday, and I forgot we trained back the day before. And Zach's like, "So what are we training?" He's like, "What time tomorrow?" And I was like, dude, I think we definitely need to not trade tomorrow. Like, because I thought we just trained arms. Like, I thought for whatever reason, thought we trained back and then had a rest day and then trained arms. And then I
Right.
was like, dude, I'm fucked up right now. Like,
Yeah, that's amazing. Yeah, I had such a solid week of training last week, and the finisher for me was Chris and I hit legs on the newbie on Saturday morning, and dear God, like just getting up and down stairs or out of this work chair is agony. I hadn't trained like a hard quad day on them with the newbie in a long time, and it lit me up, man. Like
yeah,
it was we worked up to a hard set of leg press and did a big drop set, and then finished off with a true squat till I couldn't stand up straight.
yeah,
And I mean, just those two exercises with the newbie fully cranked get me every time.
yeah. Oh, yeah, that will definitely.
Yeah. And I mean, what's funny is I had it in my mind, I was like, well, if we get to the true squat, I'd love to get three and a quarter on there. But I was so fucked up from the leg press, like my outer, because I put two pads on my sweep, one on the VMO, one on the right VIM, and my left sweep was so crampy. I was like, bro, all we need is two plates on the true.
Yeah,
It was horrible. But I know you know that pain and how wonderful it is. So
yeah, yeah. That is a good feeling.
yeah, it's something about that and that true squat that just work really well. I think because you can get such a deep stretch on it. Um,
Yeah,
I haven't decided if I prefer that or the hack squat with it better. It might even be a tie. Um,
yeah,
but the leg extension to me is like so crampy.
yeah. That one, yeah, it's just basically just a cramp.
Yes, yeah. And I know if you haven't had an opportunity to use it, like it's kind of hard to understand or even remotely apply, but it's like it's almost you need heavier weight on it because if you just fly that up, like your legs just want to stick.
Yeah,
Like,
well, yeah, they won't come there. They're locked.
yeah. I always told Chris, I'm like, you gave me fucking boner leg again, man.
Yeah,
I
yeah.
was,
Your knees are just stuck up. It's like the same thing with hamstrings.
oh
Have
yeah,
you?
agreed. Yeah. Yeah, we were because so he'll hook my hamstrings up, I'll do leg curls, and then we move the pads to my quads for adductors.
Uh-huh.
And I did a top end set of adductor, and he didn't turn it down. I went to get out of the adductor machine, and my legs both went like this.
Yep.
He's like, I might need to turn that down. Yeah. And there's like the bad thing is if it happens to you, like there's nothing you can do. You just have to sit there and endure that shit
Yep.
until it's turned down. So I'd love to know if like someone got stuck in that operating the newbie by themselves and had to like
Just rip the pads off.
yeah, right. Yeah. Rip the pads off. Yeah. Just fucking start pulling wires. Yeah.
Well, I've done it to myself. Like I was getting in that thing.
Mhm.
I would get it, I would lean forward and then turn it up as much as I could,
Okay.
and
Yep.
then waddle back because now my legs are locked, and then seatbelt myself into the true squat,
Oh yeah. Yeah. Yep.
and then start going.
Right.
But then I'd get out of it and I'd have to do the opposite.
Right.
And that one's like that one is just terrible because like you get out of it, you're like
Oh,
everything you want to is like you want to bend your knee, but then your legs locked again.
right. Yeah. Yeah. That's almost a similar feeling. Like, have you ever used really aggressive knee wraps?
Oh
And
yeah,
it's that same feeling of, when you're not under any load. It's like you feel like your legs are working like they almost like you have peg legs.
Yeah, yeah, exactly.
I haven't used knee wraps that tight in a long time, but
Oh,
um
dude, I almost never use knee wraps or anything.
yeah. Occasionally in prep towards the end, if I feel my knees are just not 100%, I'll put knee sleeves on, but
Yeah,
outside of occlusion work, I don't use knee wraps anymore.
yeah,
I hadn't
same.
used those since I started working with John, if I'm
Yeah,
being honest.
yeah. Well, it's
Um,
actually it's funny. I have both, and it depends on what I'm wearing.
okay,
Because
yeah, yeah,
I won't. I'll put a like. I'll just do a light wrap of
yeah,
knees like with wraps.
mhm.
Like I'm never cranking on that shit. Like for bodybuilding purposes, like you never should be,
Agreed.
you know. But like if I'm wearing like sweats, I'll just do it over my sweats,
Yeah, 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 yeah.
so I don't have to like. Because there's no way I'm gonna hike my sweats up. Like I can't.
No,
They're getting caught in my calves,
yeah, agreed.
you know. So it's like getting a knee sleeve on is not happening with those.
No, no, no. I actually like those thin, baggier gas pants for that.
Yeah,
So
exactly.
I'll take the ones with the elastic at the end at
Yeah,
the ankle. So I'll hook that underneath my heel, put the knee sleeve on, and those fit pretty good. They don't
yeah,
slide.
yeah,
But if you wear if you wear the thicker pant, it doesn't work.
yeah, exactly.
And then I don't wear joggers to train legs in because I'm always fucking just gonna blow the ass out of
Yeah,
them.
yeah, exactly.
So yeah, I'm the same way as you. Like before John, my buddies and I, when we were, I don't know if you want to call it ego lifting, but it was like just see how much you can squat for 6 plus, right? We would knee wrap anything above 315.
Yeah,
And, you know, and pretty aggressive knee wrap, not like 1 rep max powerlifting knee wrap to
yeah,
where
yeah. You're not where you need pliers to put them on.
right. We weren't losing blood flow to the lower portion of our leg, but I would say they were aggressively bodybuilding wrapped, and it just, I mean, it definitely helps.
Yeah,
And it doesn't feel great. I'll be honest with you.
no,
I would almost love, well, we would do like widow makers. We didn't call them back off then. We would just pull a plate or two and just see how many over 20 we could get, and we'd never wear wraps for that. But yeah, ever since I started working with John, he was like, bro, get them fucking knee wraps off. You don't need them. Get knee
yeah,
sleeves if you know them. He's like, do you have knee pain? I was like, no. He's like, then why are you wearing them? I'm like, it just makes me feel safe. And everyone else in my gym does it. And he's like, don't be like everyone else.
yeah.
Got it.
Well, it's
So
like one of those things, dude. It's like I don't know where like those became like a fashion statement,
yeah, yeah.
but it drives me up a wall. Like especially like the wrist straps. It drives me up a wall because like you're not wearing those right if you could wear them your entire fucking workout.
1000%. Yes.
Like you're putting them on for a set of bench or something where you're pushing really hard up against,
Yes.
you
Agreed.
know,
Yeah.
and then you're taking them off in between sets because they're on fucking tight.
Agreed. Yeah.
You know, they're not just like they're not a fucking bracelet.
No. And I think that's where most people misunderstand that. I mean, I have really small wrists, if the viewers can see, right? Like, and anything above like 140-pound dumbbells or anything in the 300s plus on a bench press doesn't feel great to my wrists. So I just usually would wear it for stability. But as you said, it's for one set. It's not for the warm-ups. It's not for the back off. It's literally for the working set. Um, and then if I could wear that the entire workout, like you said, like my finger, I wouldn't be able to feel my hands. Uh,
Yeah,
and and it's not comfortable. It fucking sucks. Like I wish my wrists were like yours and I didn't fucking need
yeah,
them. But yeah, I mean, I've seen guys like put them on and wear them for the entirety of arm day. I'm like,
yeah. For what?
right. Right.
Like
Yeah,
your wrist can't control a 30-pound dumbbell.
correct. Like I could see if maybe you were like Dusty Hanshaw skull crushing.
Yeah,
Maybe
yeah. I can see it for that for sure.
close grip bench press, maybe
Yeah,
heavy JM. But outside of that, man, if I need to wrap my wrist to do a rope pushdown, I need to strengthen everything around here.
yeah. Yeah, you know, you go see a chiropractor and see some, you know, soft tissue work people and take a good look at your training and wonder why your wrist hurts during pushdowns.
Uh, correct. Yeah, yeah. That is probably the most sound information we've probably ever given on here.
Yeah,
Or I think it's something as simple as this. They're like, well, if I wrap my wrist really tight for barbell curls, it doesn't hurt. I'm like, have you tried Easy Bar or a dumbbell or a cable?
yeah, yeah.
No.
You just single arm dumbbell, like,
Right. Like, oh, my wrists don't feel great when I'm fully supinated with, 135 pounds. Yeah, no shit, neither do mine. Um, Maybe don't do that exercise.
yeah, yeah. Your body's telling you something.
Correct. I guess that's the way I've always thought of. Because listen, I get it, man. I used to, the guy who taught me how to bodybuild, he was a big believer in barbell curls, and he would use wrist straps on his heavy sets, and he'd even put chalk on his hands. So for a long time, that's what I thought you had to do. And his arms are huge. So I'm like, all right, cool. Like that's what I got to do. And then eventually one day, like you just get so much excruciating forearm pain that just lingers all week. And I'm like, is there any difference with doing an easy bar? And you start doing them or that or dumbbells. It's like, that feels a lot better. Then logically, you just move away from it, or at least I do.
Yeah, yeah. Or just, that's the fun part about bodybuilding is finding what doesn't work.
Yeah, agreed. And I think that's a lot of times, where you and I have that ability to adapt and to take cues and listen to the body. So many people are resistant because like so and so smart person said, I have to do this. Or for the last decade, this exercise has worked, but now it feels like garbage. Well, there's a reason it feels like garbage, or your execution or form changed, or your body changed, and maybe you've outgrown that exercise. Like I'm not, as I've said to you many times, I'm not married to any one exercise. I think you can grow muscle on very little or a lot, depending upon what you have access to. I mean, dear God, you look at some of those dudes who go into prison and come out jacked.
Yeah,
It's literally, I mean, listen, I've had a lot of military guys who go in skinny and they reach out to me and like on base with like, dear God, if you saw the equipment they have access to, you'd be like, how in the hell are you growing like this? And like, we're just getting there and training and having fun, man. Like,
yeah.
weird how that works, right?
Dude, I swear to God, sometimes like the strongest people are those guns.
Yeah.
Like, actually, I have two people like I coach who are in the Marine Corps,
Yeah.
and they're, dude, both of them deadlift more than 5 plates.
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
And it's just like, oh, you decided to just get fucking strong.
Weird how that works, right? All right. So on this kind of bridges the topic, honestly, what we were going to talk about is I had a very successful reel that continues to produce ridiculous numbers. And I laugh at this and I'll share this story with you. Like, when you have those Apple earbuds, it reads you notifications.
Yeah,
I was telling Angel this. I was like, I was doing back yesterday and I was doing dumbbell rows. And then it says, and like I'm listening, I can't remember what music I had on, but it was something on Spotify. And the next thing you know, it was like Instagram notification. At Brad and Heath 75 says you're a huge piece of shit and should go kill yourself. I'm like, what the fuck just came through my ears?
oh, that's funny. It's because you called them out for being small.
Correct. Yes. And, I can tell you this. What's really funny is within that, you quickly realize how unintelligent people are with steroids, gear, synthol, training, anyone who's been doing it for more than a decade. And then they just don't understand it. They don't understand, the foundation that most of us had built before we ever used any supplement or gear ever. I've never used synthol unless you snuck up behind my back. You've never used it that I know of.
If I was using synthol, my arms were still this small, I'd be fucking pissed.
Yeah, yes. Yeah, same here. Um,
Like, I'm at like 19 and a quarter, and I'm like, and it drives me up a wall, but it's just like, man, if I was using synthol, that wouldn't be that I wouldn't be saying this.
right. Yeah. And when I told you this topic, I can't even say it with a straight face, but the amount of people within that comment section that point out some ridiculous study of people using steroids or these trained individuals or untrained individuals using steroids and growing more than the people who were training without them. It's absolutely laughable to me. Like
Yeah,
that that many people believe that you can swallow a pill, shoot drugs, and just grow. And you and I know, based upon training people and ourselves personally, that that's not even remotely the case. Um, if it would, why would I even waste my time going to the gym? Like, I don't understand it. If that was truly the case, why would I spend, you figure, round trip 2 hours and all the money that it costs me to buy food? Like, why would I do that? Like, if that was truly the case, I guess that's my thought process. And, when we were talking about this off camera, you had a really good point of saying, consider the sources of who were being studied. So do you want to elaborate on that a little bit?
Yeah, so whatever, I mean, in that study, I like that. I'm pretty sure they gave people a tolerated dose of testosterone. So they had people on no testosterone, people on 200 milligrams, and people on 400 and 600. And the people on 600 milligrams of gear, obviously, they put on more muscle than the people who took TRT or, well, above all the other groups.
Yes.
But we're not talking about a massive amount. And then there's two things on here, right? None of these people were going to the gym at the time in that training thing. So we got people who probably don't have optimized hormones because, well, they're not exercising.
Right.
For one, I mean, that is the one of the bigger things for hormone optimization is legitimately doing something with your body,
Right.
right? Your body has no reason to make good hormones or high amounts of testosterone if you don't move or use your body.
Right.
If you sit at a desk all day and all you do is look at a screen, your body has no reason to care,
Correct. Yes,
you
sir.
know?
Yep.
So in the group of people on TRT, like they put on muscle too, but that was, we can look at that from, they went from a low dose of testosterone their body was making to an optimal one. And if your body works more optimally, like no shit, you can put on muscle easier. That's what I mean. That's the main reason why we do take drugs. But
Right.
back to what I was saying, this the amount of weight gain, they weren't. Whenever they do these tests, they're not water impedance testing these guys. They're not DEXA scanning them. They're throwing them on a scale
Yeah.
and taking raw numbers.
Yeah.
We all know what happens when you take 600 milligrams of test. You get fucking watery.
Right. Yep.
Yeah,
Yep.
water is not muscle.
No. 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 And that doesn't also correlate to strength, which
Exactly.
wasn't even factored in, right? And that's what's wild to me is when you think about this logically, um, at least from my perspective. And I realize that, again, you and I actually have perspective because we've done it. It's one of those things where the people regurgitating this useless study, in my mind, have no understanding of how it works in the body other than what they read.
Yeah.
And you and I both know that having an understanding versus actually doing is very different. Um, and I mean, I can tell you this, and I don't want this to go sideways and people to think, oh, that you and I believe it's not that big of a game changer. It definitely is.
Oh
But
yeah.
I'll tell you what the biggest game changer is when all three facets of training, nutrition, and drugs come together.
Yep.
That's what separates, in my mind, the people who use drugs from the people who use them optimally. And those are
Yep.
very different camps because I've seen guys, listen, I've been in the gym for since I was fucking 14 years old. Now, when I was young, I was naive and I didn't know what I was observing. Now that I'm have experience, I understand this. The guys who blow up and then get small, those are people that are all drugs. The guys who stay big year round and have phases of really fucking big and then really fucking hard, those are tend to be competitive bodybuilders or people who use drugs intelligently.
Hmm.
Um, you know, because if you do this in our mind the right way, it's a somewhat linear progress. It may
Hmm.
take longer. It definitely takes longer than most are going to assume. Even including myself. I think I've stated that on here before. I thought that the first shot of testosterone I was going to take, I was just going to be a monster. False, not true.
Yeah.
Um, and it kind of goes back to, I think most people making those comments have no understanding or clue of how many people actually use steroids. And that's from your TRT people all the way to your people who are maxed out performance enhancing.
Hmm.
And again, I'm going to go back to this. Like, I'm going to use hard examples. The amount of people who take TRT for health don't look any fucking different in terms of lean muscle tissue when they started versus when they where they are now.
Yeah.
And that's because they don't train hard and they don't eat right.
Hmm.
Their hormones are more optimized, but you would never look at them and be like, oh, he's on drugs.
Yeah. I always like to look at it as your progress is a car on the road, and all the things you don't do right are speed bumps and potholes.
Yeah. Yeah.
So if you're not doing a lot of things right, you can still travel down that road. Except I personally am never going to drive a car, 40 miles an hour on, unpaved dirt gravel, right? You're going to fuck something up really fast, right?
Yep.
Just like you would with your body.
Yes.
But when you know your nutrition, you fill in those potholes, your training's on point, you actually have asphalt,
Right. Yep.
and then you add in gear and you remove the speed bumps,
Right.
you know? And now it's like, oh, cool. Now we have an actual track. Like, what we can go as fast as the fuck as fast as possible, to as fast as our engine can handle.
Yep.
Right? You're not gonna make you're not gonna break the sound barrier in a Honda Civic.
Yep.
It's just not gonna happen.
Right.
But it's definitely gonna be a lot easier to go faster if you're not driving on a dirt road.
Agreed. Yep. And that's what's really interesting. And to one of those many people who commented that, I always push back with this. Admittedly, the entire Tour de France era of Lance Armstrong were blasting gear openly. They have now admitted it. What do they look like? They look
Yeah,
exactly like who they are, cyclists. They
yeah.
don't look like
They're endurance athletes.
correct. They don't look like you or I, and you and I aren't even the best in our sport. Like,
Yeah, they're very true.
like, come to terms with that. So you have literally those are probably some of the most genetically elite athletes on the planet, right? Incredible VO2 max, workout machines. I guarantee you their nutrition is through the fucking roof and perfect. Blasting gear, and yet they're still skinny. If you saw him at the beach, you'd be like, he might be fit, is what you'd probably
Yeah,
say. You would never say, oh God, that dude can probably deadlift 600 pounds.
yeah,
You weren't scared to get in a fist fight or altercation with that motherfucker. Like, why? It's because you can't just shoot drugs. You have to eat a ton of fucking food and you have to weight train with purpose.
yeah,
And the next kind of leading comment into that goes into, oh, well, of course your shoulders are blown out. That's where the most androgen receptors are. Bro, we've all known people, including pro bodybuilders, who their shoulders are weak as shit and they hammer drugs.
yeah,
Why? Explain that. Or is that person just genetically not gifted or they don't have those said androgen receptors?
yep,
Powerlifters blast gear. I don't see many cat delts in the powerlifting community.
yep,
Weird. But I guess it goes back to anecdotal evidence. Those fuckers don't believe any of that, right?
yeah. Well, it's like also one of those things when it comes to training. It's just like, steroids or no steroids. Like the dudes who hell, there's a guy at the gym I go to who just competed at the Natural Olympia and took third.
Okay.
Um, Phenomenal,
Mhm.
right? The funny fucking thing is he trains the same fucking way as us.
Right.
You know?
Yep. That's the cheat code.
Yeah, and he eats what he needs to eat. There's nothing fucking special about it. Like I joke around all the time. Like I want to see this dude on. Like I just want to give him drugs.
Right.
You know? But I mean, like that's his choice. You know? And then it's not like he would just immediately blow up either. If I
No.
gave him drug, yeah, he might start actually continue to grow muscle,
No.
right? Instead of his, slower trajectory, but he's still headed in the same direction. He's just going to be headed there a little bit quicker. He's not going to take a shot of testosterone and be like, oh, cool, I gained 30 pounds.
No.
It's not even possible.
Agreed. And that's again that comes from perspective of us working with so many clients as well as personal use, right? Like,
Yeah.
and that's the difference. I think it's way easier to sit behind the keyboard and say, "Oh, cheater, oh, you have the easy code or cheat code or easy buttons on." Man, I wish it was. I wish it was that simple. Like, but it's still you're to do bodybuilding effectively, you still have to do all the same shit. It just happens, as you said, at a faster rate. It
Yeah.
There is no easy button in bodybuilding. You still have to eat until you feel like you're going to throw up in the off season. You still have to train hard, and when it comes time to get all the fat off, you have to be hungry and you have
Yeah.
to do your cardio.
Yeah. Also, I mean, the fun thing is the adding steroids actually allows you to suffer more
Yeah,
because in the off season, it allows me to eat more food,
right. Yeah,
right? Is that a good thing or a bad thing? Right? I would love to see pretty much anybody right now eat my off season diet for a week. Like, and tell me how easy that is.
yeah.
Let alone then like on the other side of things, if I need to, I can go hypercaloric. I can eat 1,500 calories a day.
Yeah.
Not for long. I can't sustain that. Drugs aren't not I'm not just going to magically hold on muscle in my body because the training is what holds the muscle in my body.
Correct.
But guess what? I might be able to go there for a couple days.
Right.
You know, and it's like, oh, you guys want to eat that much? Do you know what that feels like at north of 220? I'm not a bikini girl who weighs 96 pounds.
Right. Right.
It's just like that's just lost with people. Like it's just like armchair quarterbacks. Like, oh man, he should have threw this pass better. It's like, do you see the other thing? Did you see the linebackers coming at him?
Right.
No, you're seeing it from a camera view.
Right. Yeah.
You're not in the game. You're watching it.
Right.
You
Yes.
know?
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, again, I think you and I have spent so much time in a gym that, we can look around and observe relatively quickly and realize who's serious about things and who isn't. J- You know, and I think the untrained eye doesn't see that as easily. Uh,
Yeah.
you know, and I think what's really weird before we move on to another topic is I don't know how you were as a as a young lifter, but my training started in a football weight room where it was just us. When I went to my first commercial gym, I was overwhelmed by the different levels of physiques. And I never had a negative thought to the dudes who were way bigger than me. I just thought, holy shit, that would be super cool to look like that.
Yeah.
What, and I don't know if maybe that's just me. I mean, maybe there's other people in my generation who looked at those people and said, oh, it's jacked up juice heads. But in my mind, like maybe I was naive, but I just thought, fuck, how much work is it going to take if I want to look like that? Like, how long is it going to take to get there? And if so, that would be really cool to walk around all day like that. Um, so I think it's really interesting. We have access to Instagram now, which we didn't then. The internet really wasn't even a thing.
Yeah.
And it's like you saw pro bodybuilders in magazines, and that's it. You couldn't look at them all day, every day, in their what I would consider natural habitat, where it's not a photo shoot, or when a film crew's there taking in their experience and it's all planned and scripted for the most part, where it's like, man, I just remember looking at the guys who were so much bigger than me and thinking, fuck, like, I pray that one day I can achieve that. And now, like, when I think back on it, they probably weren't as impressive as I thought, but my brain wasn't that experienced, so I had no clue. Like, how did you feel when you were young? Like, when you saw guys like that, like, did you just admire them or?
Yeah, oh, yeah, 100%.
Right.
Like honestly, I was really lucky and I wandered into a bodybuilding gym.
Okay.
Um, and the dude who ran it like was a personal trainer in Florida and was Dexter Jackson's first bodybuilding coach. Like actually fucking great. The guy when I met him, he had 23-inch arms.
Shoot.
And it was ridiculous. Like I walked in, I was like, this exists,
Right. Right. Yeah.
you know? And it just blew my mind. And I was like, that would be cool.
Right.
That's
Yeah.
exactly what went through my mind. I was like, this is like, I don't know how long this took that dude, but like, that's, it's like, I always look at bodybuilding like going to a car show.
Right. Yeah.
Like I can always, you could, every time you see something what someone's put work into, you're like, wow, that's impressive. Like in all reality, like whenever I see someone in any shape or form in like a gym, I see someone who's squatting 600 pounds. Do
Right.
I want to do that? Fuck no. But dude, it's fucking impressive.
Okay.
You know, one of my friends, she's training for one of those like what's it called, the M track or whatever, where it's like a basically a marathon with like a endurance activities inside of it,
Oh wow.
which is just wild.
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
know, and watching her train for that, I'm like, wow, this is fucking cool. Like the whole time, I'm like, she's got to just be pounding food
Yeah.
because like her entire workout's just like high intensity,
Oh yeah. Yeah.
and for a long period of time, and it's just like she's still having food, that, and like there is nothing in me that wants to run for fucking a marathon.
No. Me
Like
too.
you could like if someone offered me 10 grand to do it, I probably would say no.
Agreed. Same.
You know, like that's what I'm talking about. Like, there's nothing in my body was like, no, that gives me zero pleasure.
Yeah.
But watching other people get ready for it, dude, fucking that gets me excited.
Oh yeah.
You
You know,
know?
I think I also just have an appreciation for any type of physical or athletics feat, right? Like
Yeah,
there was one day I was like scrolling through YouTube shorts and it led me to this girl doing these like crazy handstand yoga poses.
yeah,
And instead of thinking, oh, she's lucky, oh, she has flexible joints, oh, that's genetic, she had a good mentor, I was like, how many years did it take her to acquire that ability?
yeah,
And maybe it was a year, maybe it was a decade. I don't know. But I'm like,
yeah,
fuck, that's cool. Do I
yeah.
have any desire to do a handstand split and spin to one hand? No, zero, zero. I don't care. That would do nothing for me.
No,
I can watch it and take it in and be like, that's a badass athletic feat, man. Like the percent of the population who can do that is teeny. Um, and I think that's how I kind of feel about bodybuilding. Like the percent of people who can gain a ton of muscle tissue and then peel all the fat off and do it year after year always have my respect. No whether if I'm an active competitor, retired, or just a coach.
yeah,
It's hard. It's very, very hard to endure that for a consistent amount of time. That
yeah,
to build a quality, well-rounded physique that doesn't have holes. And some people never achieve that. And who
yep,
do it for years. So yeah, I'm just gonna leave you guys with that. Like, please don't fall into that misconception. And I know it again, it just sounds like we're banging on scientists here, but one fucking study doesn't mean it's the truth, guys. Like, I'm telling you this, the amount of clients that have taken more gear than I've ever even desired to shoot into my body on their own volition, not by me, most of the time have the shittiest physiques I've ever seen.
yeah.
And
Well, it's funny. I mean, on the other side of things, like I don't work with him anymore because but I worked for him for a solid year, and it was funny because when he came to me, if I remember right, 2.8 grams of gear a week. I dropped him to 300 milligrams a week of test and worked on his nutrition and training. And guess what happened?
got better.
He got a lot fucking better, substantially better,
Right. Yeah.
and he was actually growing off of that.
Right.
Oh, well, that's weird. And just dropped legitimately 2.5 grams of gear out of his plan,
Yeah.
and he got better.
Right. Yeah.
That may be that alone tells me, oh, maybe this isn't just gear.
Yes. Yeah. I've had countless clients who've came to me from very big name, well-known coaches who were on a ton. And like you, I cut it a third, a half, sometimes even more. And what do? They got better and bigger because I enhanced their training because those coaches weren't taking over their training and they didn't do a fine-tooth comb of nutrition. It was your standard, I'm gonna say bulk diet. Guess what happens when I removed a lot of that fluff and bullshit and filler calories and put it with good quality food? They got better and bigger. And it's like less drugs, better food, better training. Oh, weird how that works. You know,
Yep.
so I think that's where we'll wrap that there. I think we beat that shit to the ground.
100%.
The next biggest thing I think in our sport has been this new rule of NPC, or I guess technically it's the IFBB. It's saying, oh, guess what? You better get on your pro card yearly or you're cut, you're back to NPC.
Yeah.
So a brief overview of that is, before this year, you could always keep your pro status if you turned pro and you didn't, I guess, do anything where they would kick you out of the league, like they did Lee Priest.
Yeah. I
Um,
think the funny thing about this is Lee Priest is legitimately the happiest camper about this.
right. Yeah. Listen, if there's any mindset of anyone I could embrace in life, like go listen to Lee Priest. Like he
Yeah.
is who he is and he's happy about it, and everyone else can kick rocks, essentially.
Yeah.
So now I guess did they I can't remember what the hard date is when you have to get your card by. Is it
Uh, Something 2025.
yes, yeah, it's something this year. So if you don't
Yeah.
renew it yearly, I guess they're gonna cut you and you
Yeah.
go back to the NPC.
Yeah.
So let's what are your thoughts on this initially, Dave? Because I kind of have a mixed bag on it.
I thought it was kind of a mixed bag. Like for some people, like, I mean, you brought up like Ronnie Coleman and Kevin Levrone. It was like, why the fuck are they still paying for this shit?
Correct.
But as far as like I have always felt like they've started giving out way too many pro cards. Like this, that title shouldn't be really easy. Like in all reality, like in bodybuilding, I don't think they should hand out pro cards to anything above light heavies.
Agree, yeah, you and I
Like there's no like it's the same concept. Like if you turn pro in bantamweight, you got what 10 years before you can compete again because your option's the 212.
right,
It's like what was the point of you turning pro?
1,000%. I agree.
Just to pay a fucking fee.
Right. Yep.
So like things like that, and like they need to make it a little bit. I mean, I mean, we do live in the day of age of everybody needs a trophy, but like a lot of the I don't know how they do this. Like, do they just start giving pro cards to just overall winners? But I mean, in the realm of things like we've talked about this before, it's not like the pro card that matters; it's the pro physique what matters. You know, I get asked weekly if I'm a pro bodybuilder. I am very fucking far away from that. People think they see me and they're like, "This is fucking crazy." You know, that's what bodybuilding should be like. If you are what it's just that like my title on the wall does not mean anything compared to what my body says. And I get what so many people want to say, hey, I'm a pro bodybuilder, so they can market themselves, so they can, say they have their pro status. But if you don't look like a pro bodybuilder, like what's the fucking point of having the card on the wall?
Agreed.
Like that's one thing that's driven me up a wall with so many people. It's like they go get their pro card, they're like, that's all I wanted. I'm done.
Yeah.
I actually never really liked this sport. I just wanted the clout from my social media. I wanted to change my Instagram handle, to say pro
Yeah.
in it. And I'm done with the sport, but I'm going to continue to coach people and or stay in the sport just so I can make money.
Right.
That shit drives me up a wall.
Yeah. Same.
If you don't like this sport, don't fucking do it.
Agreed.
It's that simple.
Yeah. I think it was one of the videos I posted of me training and then posing afterwards, and someone said, "Oh, you're going to be pro this year for sure." And like you and I both know, the probability of that is very slim.
Yeah.
And it's like I almost don't know if you just say thanks and move the fuck on. You give it like a heart or whatever and move on. But I'm like, I always feel the need to like educate people. I'm like, man, that's not why I do this. And
Yeah.
if one day I'm fortunate enough to where the cards align and it happens, great. But the probability is very, very slim. Um,
Yeah.
and I know that's tough for a lot of people because they think, oh, it's anyone can achieve it, and there's a lot they give out. And like, listen, it is what it is. Like,
Yeah.
it, I think if we're talking about this topic as a whole, I completely understand it from a money thing for the IFBB. I completely understand it as there's lots of people out there, as you said, making money off of their name when they aren't active competitors anymore. And that's annoying, right?
Yeah.
If you're going to sell nutrition coaching and training and personal training and life coaching, fill in the blank, and you're going to do it off the backs of the IFBB, who you no longer pay to essentially be part of their membership, you shouldn't be able to use it. It's no different than if I didn't renew my PT certification, but yet I told people I was a certified personal trainer.
Yeah.
Pretty fucked up. Um, I can't claim NASM certified if I'm not.
Yeah,
So I completely get it from that perspective. I do think it's a little bit of dirtbaggish type mentality of guys and girls who have competed their face off in the IFBB and they've used their likeness for years to profit off of it. And then they're going to tell these retired pros who honestly have no desire to ever to step on stage again that, oh, by the way, if you have a desire to compete again, you're going to have to go back to the NPC. Go fuck off.
yeah,
That's fucked up, right?
yeah.
Like,
Well, honestly, it would be hilarious. Can you imagine if, like, let's say Derek Lunsford, just yes, Mr. Olympia,
yeah,
like let's say he has a rough 3 years, doesn't renew his thing, and they're like, actually, you got to requalify.
right. Yeah.
Him showing up to like North Americans,
Right, right. Yeah. Yeah. I mean,
I'm
yeah, I mean, that's a great example. Think about someone who, in my heyday, when I was a kid, Marcus Rule is still enormous. Can you
yeah,
imagine Marcus Rule showing up to a regional NPC show and he's like, "Hey, I'm a super. I'm here."
yeah, yeah, exactly. Or yeah, like yeah, something like that. Just showing up, that would be it. Would have just they'll be like, all right, cool, he's qualified.
Right, right. I can't imagine showing up and looking over like Marcus Rule, like, yeah, man, I forgot to renew my NPC or my IFBB Pro card. I gotta earn my status again.
Yeah.
Oh, fuck
Or
off.
like, what about like how long has it been since Reagan Grimes competed?
Yeah, right. Yeah.
You
Yeah.
know?
Yep. Yeah, I mean, you figure by the time Quentin gets on stage, all of those guys could potentially, if they let it lapse or their business manager forgets to renew their card, like to me, it's kind of laughable. And again, as I said to you, like, Ronnie Coleman won 8 Olympias, or
Yeah.
Lee Haney, another great example, 8 Olympias, Dorian, 6 Olympias. You're gonna tell me if they don't pay the IFBB $200 a year that they lose their status, even though they're Olympians? Like,
Yeah.
I find that very sketchy and hard to believe. Whoever
Yeah.
came up with this rule hadn't thought about it like that, in my opinion, maybe.
Yeah.
Uh,
Well, I mean, it's kind of funny too. I mean, like people are getting super upset about this, but like Lee Priest is another great example. He legitimately got banned from the IFBB. He's no longer a pro IFBB, and then they gave it back to him.
right. Yeah.
But like at any point, when I think of Lee Priest, there is not one point in my brain was like, nah, that guy's not a pro bodybuilder.
Yeah, no shit.
You know?
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, I think that goes back to your original point of the pro card or pro status doesn't necessarily dictate reality.
Yeah.
And as much as they want to believe it does, and I think as many people who believe that, they had the cards align one day that makes them a forever bodybuilder or figure or bikini or fill in the blank, it doesn't. You and I both live and I think believe that you either follow the bodybuilding lifestyle, and that encompasses every division in my mind.
Mhm.
You eat 5 to 6 meals a day. It isn't garbage food. You eat for performance. You train to the best of your ability the way you enjoy. You do your cardio. You take your health supplements, and you rest, repeat, recover. Like that. I think that to me stems like a deeper conversation of, that's that old thing of if you've never stepped on stage, are you a bodybuilder? And it's like, well, do you live like one? And if you
Yeah.
do, I would say yes. You're doing the hard part. The easy part's fucking getting spray tan and putting posing trunks on. Like, I've seen a lot of people who don't live bodybuilding lifestyles clearly by their physique, and they still compete, and it's not pretty. Uh,
Yeah. I mean, that happens every fucking show.
Correct. Yeah. Uh, and I will say the Sam Sulek of the world and everyone like him is way more of a bodybuilder than any of those people that put the posing trunks on, who who in my mind disrespect our sport so damn much by showing up out of shape.
Yeah.
And I'm not talking, I need people to understand this. I'm not talking about like someone who maybe missed his peak or, was stupid with insulin or maybe ate too many carbohydrates the night before or didn't eat enough carbohydrates and they look stringy like they don't belong up there. I'm talking about the people who like, it doesn't like, do you even train? Did you diet one day for this? Like,
Yeah.
and I know at the same time, people will argue like, "Oh, Chris, like, it takes a lot of courage to get up there." This isn't a fucking courage show.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly.
Like, it's not. That's what Instagram's for. If you want to post your side by side transformations, good for you. You lost 100 pounds.
Yeah.
This is a different world. This isn't a transformation contest. This is be shredded, fit your division based upon how much muscle you need, and you're judged solely based upon how you look, not who you are or where you came from. Like,
Yeah.
no one gives a fuck that you grew up poor, right? When you're on stage, it's like, is he big enough? Is he lean enough? Can he pose well?
Hmm.
That's literally it. They don't care if you have a job, if you're a trust fund kid, you have a private gym, you work out in a garage. None of that shit matters. Are you big? Are you shredded? Are you lean? And can you pose? I think that's what drew me to this sport is like it not only is it individual, meaning I have to execute or it's a disaster, but then it's like nothing else in my life matters outside of those 10 minutes on stage solely based upon them judging my physique. Like that's cool, right? In my mind. That's why I like
Yeah.
it.
Super true.
Yeah.
That's exact. I mean, that's another like that's one of the main reasons like this got drawn to me is there's no hiding if you did or didn't do the work.
Right. Yeah.
Like, sure, you can argue some people have better genetics. They still did the fucking work. You know, they didn't just walk. They didn't wake up like that.
No. Agreed. Agreed.
Yeah, I mean, just like learning, like I might pick up math easier than you. You know, you might pick up language better than me.
Right.
You
Yeah.
know, some things are a struggle for everybody.
Hmm.
You
Yes.
know, but there is no faking being shredded and being muscular on stage.
Yeah. Agreed. Agreed. I mean, even if you look at the art of, say, posing, for example, of keeping your stomach sucked in, every muscle tense and tight or flared, however you want to look at that. And it's like, did you practice your posing? Because we've all seen guys and girls get up on stage and have the physique, but not know how to show it. And it's like, did you practice it? Was that time, effort, and energy put into your craft? And again, that's why this is rewarding for me. And I think for you as well, it's like, okay, we ate our meals, we trained hard, and we got better. And it's pretty tangible. Um, again, not always as fast as you or I may want it, or as others, but it's also faster than others. Like, you know, there's and that's for various reasons, obviously. But
Yeah.
to rein back in on our topic here, like I, I would love to tell you that I have a hard stance on it, which I feel like I usually do. I'm very decisive with things, but I see both sides of it. Like I think it's a dirtbag money grab in
Oh
a
yeah.
lot of instances.
Yeah.
Um, because if you think about this, like let's go back to your Bantam example that you gave us. Let's say you're a Bantam or welterweight and you turn pro or lightweight and you turn pro in nationals this past winter. And you know in your heart you're going to need 5 years of hard all season to look respectable at 212. So I have to pay for a IFBB pro card that I'm never going to use for those first 3 to 5 years. That's fucked up. That's what, $600 for 3 years? Like
Hmm.
$1,000 for 5 years. Like, I feel like that's really fucked up when all those people are like, you know what? I'm gonna do what the right thing is. I'm gonna take 3 to 5 years off. I'm gonna put the muscle on, and I'm gonna show up in the 212 and be respectable. I may not win, but I'm gonna be bigger and better than I was at nationals in 24. So I gotta pay for that. That to me seems fucked up.
Hmm.
Or like I said earlier, with all the pros who have done their time, so to speak, to say to them, you lose your pro status because you don't pay us $200 a year. Like
Yeah.
you're kicked out. See ya. Kick rocks, bro. Like, well, oh, that's weird. Aren't you using my likeness over there?
That's yeah. Right.
You know all those battle for the Olympias that I shot? Hey, go fuck yourself. My kids get 10 years less with me because I put my heart and soul into this. Like, because I wasn't present. Like, that kind of makes my skin crawl a little bit.
Oh yeah.
But on the other side, I get if you want to maintain a membership to a club, you have to still pay it even though you don't use it.
Yeah.
Um, or if you're one of those people who use it for your marketing and growing your business and your brand, then I think it's only fair that you pay for it. No, we all know you can write it off on your taxes if you use it for your business, so it's not that big of a deal.
Yeah.
I know I do every year. So yeah, it's a mixed bag for me. So let us know your comments below. I'm sure there's an angle we haven't thought of. If you have, I'd love to be enlightened by it. Those are our kind of gut visceral reaction, I think.
Yeah.
And yeah. One final thing to I don't know, did you watch that it's just bodybuilding with Fuad?
Actually, the only thing I saw of that was the intro what Dusty posted,
Oh yeah.
where they're like they're talking about the mutant supplements, and he's like, everybody should be on gear, and Fuad's like, the fuck, and then Dusty's like, it's an EAA supplement, and he's like, oh,
Yeah, he's like, no wonder everyone likes y'all's podcast.
yeah,
So that actually closed the podcast. It's a great listen.
yeah,
And uh if you guys are looking for another podcast to listen to, Scott McNally does an incredible job with
yeah,
Think Bodybuilding. And that podcast with the way that ended, it was absolutely priceless. I think I'm very nostalgic with listening to all the guys that I grew up looking up to. And God, I remember it was in the back of MD, Fuad used to have a section. It was like Canadian Muscle, and it was like him and Ben Bukolski. And I remember just thinking, like, good God, those guys are fucking freaks. Like, so now to listen to them on the flip side, being retired and having to like cope with not being giant anymore, it gives us, I think, all some hope to,
yeah,
there is life, an enjoyable life after bodybuilding, even though I think it will be difficult to find that white rabbit that you and I chase every week
yeah.
outside of bodybuilding. So
Actually, it's funny. I think Lissa, she absolutely loves Dusty Hanshaw when he posts. Because like
yeah,
every time he posts him at like food, she's like, "Why aren't you eating like this?" And it's like his like 10-ounce porterhouse and a box of mac and cheese, and I'm like, she's like, "You could eat this," and I'm like, "Fuck, I could." Maybe one day I will,
yeah,
but
yeah, 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 yeah. That's that old Dante Trudel eating style, where it's just like bulk hard as a motherfucker and then shred all the fat.
yeah,
I can tell you this, I've done that with two people, and I've worked with literally thousands of guys. Um, Most guys get fat doing that, by the way.
yeah.
So, anyways, until next time, Chris, Dave, we are done. See you guys.